Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Girari Radha Girari Radhe Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ke Jayam Vishpad Paramhamsa Prabhajikacharya Shotar Sata Shishimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ke ISKCON founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ke Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ke Sama Veda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ke Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhadale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charne Nivishesha Shunadi Paschadistarne. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're getting to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 4, Chapter 29, talks between Narada and King Prachinabarhi, text 79. Atas tad apavhadartam. Atas tad apavhadartam. Bhaja sarvatmana harim. Bhaja sarvatmana harim. Pashyams tad atmakam vishvam. Pashyams tad atmakam vishvam. Stiti utpati aprapya yataha. Stit utpatya paya yata. Atastad apavhardartam. Bhaja sarvatmana harim. Pashyams tadatmakam vishvam. Stit utpatya payayataha. Atastad apavhardartam. Bhaja sarvatmana harim. Pashyams tadatmakam vishvam. Stit utpatyupayayataha. Atastad apavhardartam. Bhaja sarvatmana harim. Pashyams tadatmakam vishvam. Pashyam tadatmakam vishvam. Stit utpatyapayayataha. Atastad apavhardartam. Sarvatmana harim. Pashyam tadatmakam vishvam. Stityutpatyupayayataha. Atas, therefore, tat, that, apavada artam, to counteract, bhaja, engage in devotional service, sarva atmana, with all your senses, harim, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pashyan, seeing, tat, of the Lord, atmakam, under the control, vishvam, the cosmic manifestation, stiti, maintenance, utpati, creation, apaya, annihilation, yataha, from whom. Translation. You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. To be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. Please repeat. You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, Everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. To be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Self-realization, understanding oneself as Brahman or spirit soul, is very difficult in the material condition. However, we accept the devotional service of the Lord will gradually reveal Himself. In this way, the progressive devotee will gradually realize his spiritual position. We cannot see anything in the darkness of night, not even our own selves. But when there's sunshine, we can see not only the sun, but everything within the world as well. Lord Krishna explains in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita 7.1, Maya sakta manaparta yogam yunjan madashraya samshayam samagram mam yata jagyasi tachrinu. Now hear, O son of Pratha, Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. When we engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Lord to become Krishna conscious, we understand not only Krishna, but everything related to Krishna. In other words, through Krishna consciousness, we can understand not only Krishna and the cosmic manifestation, but also our own constitutional position. Krishna consciousness, we can understand that the entire material creation is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, maintained by Him, annihilated by Him, and absorbed in Him. We're also part and parcel of the Lord. Everything is under the control of the Lord, and therefore our only duty is to surrender into the Supreme and engage in His transcendental loving service. These topics are going to be above my pay grade. That's nothing surprising. I was a little surprised when I saw this conversation of Srila Prabhupada where he was saying, I was writing these purports to the Srimad Bhagavatam and I was praying to Krishna, Krishna, I don't know all of this. Please help me to write what you want to be written. And this is what is coming across in the purport, that if we will surrender fully to Krishna, then Krishna, from within the heart, from Shastra, from the blessings of Guru and Sadhus, this knowledge will be revealed. The blind can become seers of the sun, everything, including themselves. So I'm hoping that you'll pray with me that I might be able to be an instrument this morning and that you get to hear properly. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanjana Salakya Chakshurn Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyata Padikamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sayitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We've shifted gears a little bit in this verse. Previously, we've been hearing about the transmigration of the soul from body to body via the desires manifest within the subtle body, and this is going on since time immemorial. Last few verses have been dealing with that. And then and then Narada says, tut, therefore, to counteract that, apavada artam, engage in devotional service. The verse, Srila Prabhupada, the translation, it's a little bit different because it communicates that Krishna is God. He creates, maintains, and annihilates everything. And if you want to have perfect realization of that, then engage in devotional service of the Lord. Always engage. That's not the easiest thing to do in, as Prabhupada says, in the material condition. We all have some appreciation of that. One time, Yudhisthira was asked by Dharmaraj or Yamaraj, what's the news in this world? It's in the Mahabharata, Vanaparva 3:13, 118. And he answered, the news of this world is that the conditioned jiva souls are being cooked by Mahakala, universal time, in the pot of worldly illusion, which is heated by the fire of the sun and burns on the firewood of the days and nights. The pot is stirred by the ladles of the months and seasons, and within the pot, the jiva souls are suffering so much, covered with the chanch of lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy, and the desires for wealth, women, and fame. Besides that, there's no other news. It's the only news in this world. So if we aren't directly talking about the transcendental message of Shastra, the glorification of the Lord, the holy names of the Lord, devotional science of serving the Lord, then basically we're like the frog in the pot, or the lobsters, they say. I never saw it, but I hear. It sounds so gruesome. You go to a restaurant and they can take one of these lobsters and put it out, and right there in front of you, they'll boil the water. At first, the lobster's going, wow, this feels pretty good. Kind of loosening up my joints here. And then before he knows it, it's boiling hot and his end is near, and before reaching his demise, he's suffering like anything. Oh my gosh, I could imagine, because they're living entities. Balaram Prabhu said there's also screaming. So Maya's like that. If she didn't cover us, she couldn't throw us, she couldn't punish us. We voluntarily are embracing the imprisonment. We think we're this body. We think we're the doer. Not that big of a stretch, because we're part and parcel of Krishna, and that's who he is. So we have his qualities, some of them in very minute quantity. But being disconnected from the reality of our eternal relationship with him, he is the source of everything. First words of the Bhagavatam, Janmadya Yashyataha. From him everything comes. He creates it, he owns it, therefore he has the right to enjoy it. Being that, he is intricately connected in all aspects of material nature. The first verse also says that he's directly and indirectly conscious of everything. There's nothing that he doesn't know. There's nothing that doesn't happen without his sanction. Everything within the cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. As long as we try to buck that system to greater or lesser degrees, we're going to be forced to stay in the prison and suffer the humility and all the sufferings that go along with prison life, prisoner identity. See if I got a quote here. This is from Srila Prabhupada. It was a lecture. He said, Sharanagati, surrender, which is what is being encouraged in this verse. Surrender means to have firm conviction that Krishna will protect me. I'm engaged in Krishna's service. So Krishna will give me protection. If I work in some ordinary man's service, he gives me protection. Don't you think if you work for Krishna, he'll not give you protection? Because we have no faith, therefore we're seeking protection from elsewhere. Krishna is able. He says, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishami ma sachaha. Bhagavad Gita 1866. I'll give you protection from all sinful reactions. Don't worry. But we have no faith. We're thinking, oh, it's written in the Bhagavad Gita. That's all right. But I must have my protection in a different way. And of course, that reminds me of Hari Vilas's question of what humility was. And Prabhupada said, humility means to realize that only Krishna can give you protection. Not your country, not your family, not your friends, not your money, not your assets, not your gun, not your own endeavors, etc. Only Krishna can give you protection. If Krishna wants to protect us, no one and nothing can harm a hair on our head. If Krishna doesn't protect us, then who can save us? When it's time to suffer the pangs, the tight embrace, rough embrace of the Lord, old age, diseases, and leaving the body. When it's time. You can't buy an extra second. You can't reclaim a lost second. This science of devotional service is so important. And all that it entails. Krishna is Swayam Rupa Bhagavan. He's enjoying with Radha and the Brajvasis, Mother Yasoda, etc. on the banks of the Jamuna, near Govardhan Hill, on the pasturing grounds of the forest of Vrindavan. He's enjoying like anything. He's not absorbed in the goings-on of this material world. But he's a loving Supreme Personality Godhead, our Creator, our Father, our best friend. Even when we turn away from Him, He never turns away from us. And to understand how God is the Creator, I looked up Genesis in the first few verses in the first book of the Old Testament. It was the teaching that I received when I was a child. And it talks about God creating the material world, the universe, in 7 days. 6 days, and on the seventh He rested. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Srila Prabhupada liked that. Hare Krishna. He created light, separating it from darkness. He created water and separated it from the sky. He created land. He created, as they say, and this is in one, each time it takes a day to pull off the task. Then he created the fish and the birds, and then the wild beasts and the domesticated beasts, and then he created man and woman, according to the concept I was taught, to have dominion over all that be. This mentality that this world was given to us as a place to enjoy and control does not prove out. The childish, immature servants of the Lord, children of the Lord, they've not realized that the parents are the ones who should be given respect and service. That they dole out what we need, when we need, and when we do play our part as an obedient child, life is perfect. But to think that we're enjoying this life, or we're controlling this life, or to think that God gave us the right to exploit other living entities in lower species is wrong. And that's the problem with Scripture that is influenced by the modes of material nature. The mode of ignorance is bewildering. The mode of passion is agitating. You can get some semblance of concept of God and yourself being a servant of God. The mode of goodness is purifying and can help one come to the point of realizing God. Of course, at that juncture, then when one is receiving the grace of God, then you rise above the modes of material nature. For the most part, even the Vedas, they all deal with the three modes of material nature. And Arjuna was told, don't concern yourself with them. Rise above that. Stick to the essence. And this is what this is. The science of devotional services to Krishna. So Krishna never abandons us. How does he create? We had this picture in the corner here. Mahavishnu. Prabhupada in the Krishna book says of all the expansions of the Lord, he looks most similar to Krishna. Color, face, etc. But he has 4 arms, generally, as we see here, lying on Anantasesha. He's the super soul of Prakriti. He lies on the causal ocean, sometimes called the Viraja River. Spiritual water, transcendental water. It's like a moat around the cloud. Small cloud in the corner of the vast, unlimited expanse of spiritual sky. The bright, shiny spiritual sky. So this dark cloud is there, Maya. And she's just there. She doesn't do anything. In every endeavor, there has to be thinking, feeling, and willing. And that's because it is originally that way with the Lord also. Thinking means desire, Icha Shakti. When the Lord, who, as Mahavishnu, who is expanded from Mahasankarshan, desires, it's time to give the living entities a chance to reawaken their eternal relationship with me. Then he, in his mystic slumber with his consort Rama, dreaming a transcendental dream, lying on the bedstead of Anantasesha. He has this desire, and by that desire, the modes manifest. And that Maya then begins to become manifest. Pradhan becomes the Mahatattva. Different elements. Sometimes it says 16, there's different numbers are given. But there's some separation, some organization or categorization. Something's begun because of the desire of the Lord. And then to really kick it into motion, we should understand that the Lord is completely transcendental and is never affected by, controlled by material nature, material energy. Even when he descends into the material energy, never. That she is his energy, and he never even touches her. Sometimes the example is given of a fragrant flower, and you smell the scent. You don't actually touch it, but the contact is there. The association is there only in a distant way. So when Mahavishnu wants to get the ball rolling, then it is stated that how's it go? That the dim twilight reflective halo of the subjective masculine portion manifests, and that's Sadashiva. And the Lord glances at this Prakriti. And in his glance, carried by Shiva, the jivas are put into that material energy. They've been within his body and they go into the material energy. Simultaneously, when he's glancing, he's also breathing. He's exhaling at the time of the glance. It's interesting. What's he breathing? It's not oxygen. It's not air of the material. Very nice. Vijay said his breath are the Vedas. Shastra. So he's exhaling, and simultaneously all these tiny little golden egg-like balls are coming out of the pores of his body. From the perspective of the jiva, unlimited. And these little golden spheres, they're empty. And what else is happening? Yeah, that's good enough. So there's that. You got all these universal shells. And then he expands himself, Mahavishnu, as super soul of the universe, Garbhodakshai Vishnu. He enters into it. He expands and he enters into it. Same transcendental person with the inconceivable ability to expand himself unlimitedly to perform so much. And not even a place to lie down. It's a hollow shell. So he produces moisture from his body, his transcendental body, and the Garbhodaka ocean is created, and it fills up half of the universe. Now he's got people, sometimes you see them when they try to project the concept that they're enjoying. They'll be on their rubber floating bed, got a cup holder for their alcohol, and So, okay, now Garbhodakshai Vishnu, he can lie down once again. Sesha expands as his bedstead. He can lie down. Lakshmi is there to massage his feet. And basically, we're describing the Purusha avatars. In this verse from the Laghu Bhagavatamrita has value to today's discussion. The Sattvata Tantra describes the different forms of the Purusha. Vishnu has 3 forms called Purusha. The first, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy, Mahat. The second, Garbhodakshai, is situated within each universe. And the third, Kshirodakshai, lives in the heart of every living being. He who knows these 3 becomes liberated from the clutches of Maya. Rupa Goswami, in the purport it says, in this verse, Vishnu refers to the original Supreme Lord, the Swayam Rupa. The first Purusha, Sankarshan, is the super soul of Prakriti. The second, Pradyumna, is the super soul of four-headed Brahma. And the third, Aniruddha, is the super soul of each of the jivas. So many different angles. I mean, it is so complex and so deep. I mean, there's so much giving in Bhagavatam, Brahma Samhita, Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Laghu Bhagavatamrita, commentaries by the Acharyas. So very much. And even that's just giving us some little tip of the iceberg of the inconceivable potencies, qualities, activities of the Lord. So anyway, Garbhodakshai Vishnu is there. And from his, as they say, you can't make this stuff up. This is so awesome. From his navel, there's water within his navel. From his navel comes the stem of a lotus with a lotus flower at the top. in the dark. Remember, it's still dark in the universe. There is nothing but the Lord, the causal ocean, this lotus flower. And Padmana Bhu, Lord Brahma, appears from the lotus flower. Garbhodakshai Vishnu doesn't need the assistance of Lakshmi to produce his son, Brahma. He's directly coming from the lotus flower, connected to the Lord. And we'll be branching soon into guna avatars. But there's so much. It's just like to think when you got it, oh, I understand this stuff. Just read Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Every time I read it, it's just like, gosh, how did I not see that? Sometimes Brahma's not born in the lotus flower. Sometimes he's born directly from the Garbhodaka ocean. Sometimes he appears from the element fire. Other times, wind. Sometimes he's God himself. Not that he's attached to the results of the activity of being the secondary creator, but sometimes there's not a qualified jiva. Can you imagine how qualified you have to be? Stated in the Bhagavatam, 100 lives of spotlessly, perfectly performing Varnashram Dharma, worshipping the Lord, 100 births, then you might qualify. So you have God, and then you have the jiva. And of course, the jiva is a guna avatar. He's no ordinary shmo. Now, guna, the acharyas give different reasons why Brahma is called guna avatar. One, he's in control of the mode of passion. You know, modern civilization, they're really good about passion. Build and break, build and break, build and, you know. Let's make it happen. Make it happen now. So he's in control of that mode. And it's understood that it affects him, being in touch with him. But interestingly enough, it is stated that when the Lord comes in contact with in the mode of passion, to control passion, then he becomes Brahma. When he comes in contact with, to control the mode of ignorance, he becomes Shiva. Here's one for you. Listen to this. It's stated that when the Lord comes in contact with atheism, you know who he becomes? Lord Buddha. It gives another one or two examples. But it's basically saying, you know, these people that think, oh, God, he could care less. He created it. I remember Sadhaputta giving the example in a class sitting in this chair. You know, he created a watch, he wound it up, and then said, you know, good luck. Nothing could be farther from the truth. He's involved in everything. Without his will and sanction, without his oversight, without his presence, nothing takes place. Everything that we take to be reality as conditioned souls, it's just dead matter. Lifeless, inert, no change. Of course, the deterioration takes place because of time, but I mean, I shouldn't say no change. I retract that statement. Yeah, the change takes place on matter. That's part of the downside of the imitation land of paradise for the conditioned souls. But anyway, so many things about Lord Brahma. When the Lord himself becomes Brahma, listen to this. He lets a qualified living entity join with him and be in the body of Brahma. And he has no headache of the of the universal management, creation, etc. None whatsoever. But that jiva gets to enjoy all the offerings of sacrifice and worship that are offered appropriately to Brahma. How kind or cool is that? And it's stated that this is a real mind blower. This is from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita talking about this guna avatar. You know, Narada Muni was looking for the devotee who's received the most mercy, and Indra's going, it's definitely Brahma. It's Brahma. I mean, you know, he's the creator. He's the regulator. He appoints all Indra's, sun gods, Varuna. He appoints all of them. That's under his. He sees that the universe is regulated. From his mouth come the Vedas. And when he was given that momentary darshan of the Lord being empowered to create, Brahma asked, would you be so kind and reside with me on my planet so I can worship you, have your shelter, and properly execute my responsibilities? And the Lord said, okay. So in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it talks about the Mahapurusha. 1,000 heads, thousands of arms. It's the Purusha Shukta. You know, the Bajaris, certainly in Mayapur, they know this. Many Pujari know. Om, what is it? Sahasra, Shirsha, Purusha, Sahasra. They go, you know, when you hear these South Indian Brahmins or those devotees really good at it, it's quite majestic. So my understanding from reading this is that Mahapurusha is an expansion of Mahavishnu. It's not Garbhodakshai Vishnu. It's not Kshirodakshai Vishnu. Really far out. And so he, with his hands, he takes all the offerings from the fire yagyas and he eats them, and everybody's satisfied. And there's tons of sages and inhabitants on Brahmaloka, all serving the Mahapurusha. And then when he's satisfied, he goes off to his palace with Lakshmi, and he'll take transcendental rest. She'll massage his feet, etc. And he's there all the time, except when Krishna appears. Because when Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan, appears, and all the incarnations and expansions and everybody, they come to jump at the opportunity, just give me some little service, some little tiny service. So he disappears. But in Brahmaloka, the time frame, the span of Krishna on this planet, it's not much separation. But anyway, Brahma is really, he's amazing. So he's a Purusha, he's a guna avatar because of his control and connection with the gunas. Some say because of his intimacy with the Lord, as I've just explained, and his planets directly having the presence of the Lord, service of the Lord. And then, what was the third one? Some say, I guess it was in the asesh aspect, his empowerment to perform the service. All are correct. The acharyas know what they're talking about, being given realized information. So from Garbhodakshai Vishnu comes Brahma. Interesting enough, Brahma has 3 bodies, at least. The Hiranyagarbha body, which is made of Mahat Tattva, the demigods cannot see this form of Brahma. Sometimes the second form is called the Hiranyagarbha, and that's the universal form. God himself, as I've said, is transcendental and never becomes material or never even touches matter. So what is this universal form? The universal form, which is sometimes called Hiranyagarbha Brahma or Viraja Brahma, that's Brahma taking on this form that was everything contained within the lotus stem of his sitting place. All the 14 planets were there. And the yogis, they can see that universal form of Brahma. And the Lord, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, he empowers Brahma to be able to exist in this way, possess that body. And then you got your 4-headed Brahma in our smallest, tiniest of universes. He's there. So all the demigods and elevated saintly persons, they know of and on the higher realms can see Brahma, can approach him. So that's Brahma, Gunavatar. He comes from Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And interestingly enough, in a certain way, we say that Shiva also comes from Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Generally, our Bhagavatam, our day of Brahma, talks about Shiva coming from the forehead of Brahma, but he also comes from the forehead of Vishnu in some kalpas and other ways. And he's in charge of the mode of ignorance, destruction of the material universe. He's a devotee of Sankarshan. He's empowered by Anantasesha Sankarshan. When it's time, Indra does his service, dancing, chanting the glories of the Lord, playing his little drum there, and the fire comes from the mouths of Anantasation. So in this way, you have your guna avatars, you have your, I didn't mention Kshirodakshai Vishnu, but once Lord Brahma creates the planets and creates the bodies that all the living entities, due to their past desires and their karma, enter into, then the Lord, He also enters into the heart of every living entity. The space between the thumb and the finger, it was said, within the subtle body of the living entity where the soul is, region of the heart, according to the body. That is stated there, second canto of the Bhagavatam. So, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, he's there. And he's there with the living entity as long as he's in the material world, and when he becomes liberated by understanding the science of devotional service, by the mercy of the Lord and His representatives, then that super soul, it's stated in one purport, he goes enters into the spiritual sky, the Brahman, and the living entity goes on to the spiritual planets, where you don't need super soul because you get to see the Lord face to face, you get to have His association and intimate service. So, for somebody to think that God is not in control, that we have any aspect of worry that is worth putting anything into, any stock into, is just lack of appreciation, lack of acceptance, lack of faith, what we're hearing all the time from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, from Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas. He's our best friend. He loves us. Everything that happens to us is for our rectification. It's for our progress, our purification. It's stated by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that the life of a devotee of Lord Chaitanya will be beset with many trials and tribulations. And that the only way to surpass, the only qualities that will assist us in tolerating and meeting the challenges are tolerance, humility, and respect. With those qualities and loudly chanting the names of the Lord with attachment, then any and every obstacle of life can so easily be overcome. So easily overcome. We just have to embrace it with faith. I mean, I referred to Genesis. I remember in the teachings, if we can just have the faith the size of a mustard seed, it was said you could move mountains. And that's the Mukam Karoti Vachalam verse. A blind man can see, a lame man could cross the Himalayas. So we need to accept the process as it is. Don't add, don't subtract, don't, shaving corners. I've said that often. But I'll end with this note. I saw this interesting thing. A person was sick. Basically, he was on his dying bed, but no conditioned soul wants to die. It's unnatural. If you don't know what lies next, it's horrifying. Because all you know is this. And as miserable as this is, still it's all I know as me. So the story goes that this Brahmin, he asked, somebody help me, doctor, please help me. Now everybody's got their suggestions for health when somebody gets sick. It's almost annoying. Well-intentioned. Devotees are always well-intentioned if they are devotees. If they're non-duplicious devotees. Simple devotees simply wanting to please Guru, Vaishnavas, and Krishna. Want to serve Guru, Vaishnavas, and Krishna. It's always well-intentioned. So somebody said, you should eat garlic. Garlic will help you. It's very medicinal. Now, for a Brahmin, garlic is That's a no-no. But this person convinced him, and because of his fear of death, he was ready to do anything. So he took all this garlic, and he ate it. And then he dies. And then right before dying, he goes, oh, what have I done? Not only am I dying, but I've given up my principles as a Brahmin and eaten garlic. What'll be my fate now? It wasn't a pretty fate. He had to be punished because he sacrificed his principles, because he had lack of faith, because he had lack of knowledge. If you're at the finish line, do the needful. Last time experiencing death. Enter into the eternal realm of love and service to Krishna and his devotees. Nothing to be afraid of. So I found that to be an interesting little story. Don't compromise. There's no good reason to compromise any. In fact, one of my godbrothers was sharing with me, sometimes I think we've come to the point where we want to be accepted by governments, by the people in general, by the world. But if you think back, that was not the mood of Srila Prabhupada. The mood of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya is we want everyone to come and join us. We don't change for you to be accepted by you. You change so that Krishna will accept you. There is a difference. Don't compromise our principles. We're simply trying to please Krishna. And if you criticize anybody whose full intent is to please Krishna, that's called blasphemy, ninda. You go to Kumbhapaka because of that type of offense to the devotees, a hellish realm of suffering. But to criticize the bad behavior of the non-devotees not serving the Lord for the compassionate instruction, for the benefit of those who might take to the service of the Lord, there is nothing blasphemous or impious about that at all. To call a thief is proper. And we should always know what the standard is. Who's a devotee? Who's following Shastra? Who's the personification, an open book of living the Shastra? And who's not? Those who are, we want to become their servants, their assistants. We want their grace. We want their blessings. Om Tat Sat. Are there any questions or comments? Tapas? Are we good?
Hare Krishna, Dhanavad Pranam. So we have Madhusudhan Prabhu and Dhananjay Prabhu with us, but I don't see any questions. We also see there are 20 people watching YouTube right now.
Thank you for your association. I wish it wasn't virtual. Soon. That's our prayer, sooner than later.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, zoom.
Zooming on over there. I remember hearing Prabhupada say that the purpose of the material world is to fulfill our desires and at the same time go back to Godhead. In other words, it's a dual purpose. Can you, correct me if I'm wrong. I recall him saying that.
In the science of Bhakti Yoga, Krishna is not a miser. He wants us to be happy. Prabhupada would often ask, are you happy? If you're not happy while performing devotional service, you're not performing devotional service properly. So yes, if our desires are lined up with Krishna's desires, then of course all our desires can be fulfilled. Maharaj Ambarish, Emperor of the world, can you imagine his responsibilities and services and activities? But it was all for the pleasure of Krishna. So their desires Krishna would gladly fulfill them all. And with each act of service, wherein one feels fully satisfied because of the pleasure experienced by the Lord, one comes closer to going back home, back to Godhead. And if you're, off track, then this material world is a prison house, and the prisoners are allowed to try and jockey for the best sale and the best, scam going on in the prison, et cetera, so they can, get their drugs, cigarettes, et cetera. But no, for the devotee, we just, we're trying to please Krishna, and to that degree that we do, then that's the perfection of our life. Time utilized, desire utilized properly, and thank you for sharing that nectar from Srila Prabhupada. You should do so more often. Madhush.
Hare Krishna.
Zoom.
I have a question, Prabhu.
Okay, Prakash.
So in the spiritual world, does Krishna know everything the other living entities are thinking, or like you said that he doesn't need to accompany them like as a super soul? So does he know everything, or for his pleasure he doesn't want to know so that he can enjoy rasa, or how does it work?
Well, in the spiritual world there are many realms. So let's pick Krishna because Krishna is our worshipful Lord. But Yoga Maya covers Krishna and everyone there so that they can engage in unabashedly familiar and intimate reciprocations of love. So Krishna doesn't tap into his godhood unless it's absolutely necessary in service to his devotees. He doesn't want to. I'm not working. Hey, I'm at home. But his energies take care of everything. There's so many energies. We say Yoga Maya for simplification, but he has that Icha Shakti, he has Jnana Shakti, he has Kriya Shakti, all unlimited energies. There's 16 mentioned in one purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Some of the other sampradayas highlight them more, especially in Vaikuntha Bhav and Vishnu worship. But he has all these energies, and they're all there to serve him and see that everything is perfect for the pleasure of the Lord and his devotees.
Thank you.
Thank you for your association, your attention, your example of service. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki.
Jai.
Jai.